Greetings and welcome to another episode of the ISQM Post Implementation Masterclass series. My name is Naledi Matlala, Project Manager at SAICA. We continue to embark on a journey where we explore the challenges and best practices around ISQM implementation. With me, I have Christel Pretorius, who is the National Head of Quality Management Audit at BDO South Africa. Welcome, Christel. It's an honor to have you here, to have you share your insights around the implementation of the QM standards.
Thank you, Naledi.
To start off the conversation, my first question is, what were the challenges that you have experienced as a firm in implementing the new standards, and how were these challenges addressed?
Thanks, Naledi. So for us, the biggest challenges by far was the time, effort and resource constraints it took to implement the new quality management standard. Although in certain instances ISQM 1 actually follows the same principle as the extant ISQC 1, it's still a new standard which took some time for us to understand on how to practically design and implement an effective system of quality management. From our firm's perspective, our global firm required all member firms to appoint a head of quality management who is operationally responsible for ensuring that the system of quality management is operating effectively. However, obviously, it's not feasible for all firms to appoint a full-time person to be able to look after the firm's system of quality management.
It seems like you experienced quite a hectic or a number of challenges in implementing this standard.
No, definitely.
So from the implementation, what were the key lessons that you have learned when you implemented the standards?
So I think for me, one of the key lessons was to get everybody on board from the start. A firm's system of quality management, as you know, comprises of various components such as leadership and governance, acceptance, re-acceptance, and resources, all of which are interrelated, but all of which need to be effectively designed, implemented, and then obviously at the end of the day operating effectively in order to achieve a consistently high-level quality engagement. Now, quality is achieved through a combination of having the right professionals, equipped with the right resources, and supported by the right firm structure. ISQM 1 does not only affect the audit division of a firm, it could, for example, also affect the human resources division or maybe the IT function, whereas historically they may have thought, but this is not something for them because they aren't specifically in the audit division. ISQM 1 also addresses resource needs and planning, including obtaining, allocating, and assigning these resources. This obviously affects how resources, including financial and operational resources, are utilized across the firm. And again, not only focusing on the audit division. It is therefore very important that leadership understands the background and the fundamental principles of the quality management standard, but also ensuring that the engagement teams understand their role in the ecosystem of an effective system of quality management. One of the things that we implemented was to have promoting an effective two-way communication process throughout the firm. I think then another key lesson that I learned through the implementation of ISQM 1 is that actually not all risks are considered quality risks. This was something that I really battled with getting it around my head. As indicated by the ISQM 1 implementation guide, there may be many risks that could adversely affect the achievement of a quality objective, but these are not necessarily considered quality risks because it's not reasonable or practicable for the firm to design and respond to each and every single scenario. Yes. So it is therefore important to remember that ISQM 1 aims to focus on quality risks that have the greatest impact on achieving the quality objectives, so that those quality risks are obviously focused on and that the firm can address all their energies towards that quality risk and ensuring that that does not result in an adverse quality objective.
I think I like the not all risks are quality risks.
Yes. Yeah.
How did the firm incorporate these lessons that they've learned into the monitoring process?
So once again, from our monitoring point of view, it is important that the monitoring function focuses on these quality risks that could have the most severe impact on or potential impact on a quality objective. So again, so that the monitoring function can focus their energy on checking whether those policies and procedures are adhered to in order to avoid a potential financial, reputational crisis that a firm may experience. And then I think a second fundamental part of an effective system of quality management process is not only to have a robust monitoring and remediation process, but also to perform detailed root cause analysis in order to identify and understand why is the deficiency there, what actually led to the deficiency. As we all know, go back to the 5 whys. Yes. Why did it really happen? Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily what it looks like at surface level, but if you delve down into the actual why something happened, then the response might be something completely different as to what you expected it to be. And then again, this is where I need to focus my energy so that I can address that deficiency in order to avoid that it might reoccur.
Okay. What was the impact of the first annual monitoring process and the key learnings from this process?
I think once again, through the monitoring process, we were able to learn what we did not know, and also identify what we may have missed. Because once again, it's a brand new standard. It's not brand new for South Africa. It's brand new globally. I think everywhere where we go, interactions with our global network firms, at local forums, SAICA forums, URBA forums, it's brand new for everyone. So through the first cycle of monitoring, we were able to identify, okay, maybe we have missed this, or maybe we are over-responding in some areas, but we're lacking a response in a different area. And what's also good to have different types of monitoring activities, be it internal or external, because once again, because it's a new standard, different types of monitoring processes bring different aspects to the quality management standard to the table. And again, as a firm, we can reflect and see, okay, but maybe we never thought of that angle of a risk because we were focused on this side of the risk. And therefore, it brings a holistic view of where there could potentially be potholes in the firm's system of quality management that we once again can address. One thing that I would also like to emphasize to our listeners is monitoring should start on a timely basis. It's never too early to start monitoring. You can't leave it to a week or a month before evaluation date because you will never finish. Yes, obviously for smaller firms, you might think there's not so much areas to check, to focus on. But I think if you start timely, if you start as soon as a new cycle has commenced, if you start timely monitoring, you can identify where things could go wrong, where things have gone wrong, and again, where the firm can address their energy so that they can address those areas and avoid having potential deficiencies, having potential big crises arise because these issues were identified timely. So time, it's never too soon to start monitoring. That was one of the key things that we learned in the first cycle.
I think to add on to that, it calls for being proactive as well,
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I think looking back, 15 December 2022, do you think the firm was sufficiently ready to implement the ISQM standards?
To be honest, Naledi, I think because it was a new standard, I think there would never be enough time to understand exactly what the thought process was behind the standard. I think one thing that I wish we had done slightly differently was to already in that first year when it was only design and implementation that was effective, to have already monitored in that year. As we were progressing and designing and implementing responses, to actually walk through those responses and see, yes, this would actually address the quality risk sufficiently. So that's a lesson that we learned the hard way. We only started monitoring on the second year when the monitoring became effective. But yeah, if I could go back in time, that would have been the point that I would have done differently.
Okay. What do you think are some of the best practices that have been adopted or could be adopted when looking at the implementation of the standard? Yes, we mentioned that you wish you could have monitored already, but any additional best practices that you can share?
Yes, I think from my point of view, again, get leadership involved from the beginning. Identify the various and relevant process owners. As I've mentioned earlier, maybe it might be somebody in IT who's not really familiar with, the extant ISQC1, who now suddenly has a responsibility in terms of the technological resources, which is specifically brought into the ISQM1, and for them to actually understand why are we doing what we are doing with the whole system of quality management? Why is it important for them to understand their role and ensure that they, on a continuous basis, operate it in the manner that it has been designed to operate? In addition, our firm has implemented and continues to identify action plans with particular focus on the culture of the firm, including strong messages from leadership about the importance of audit quality, setting expectations and leading by example. The experience and expertise of partners and staff, including the increased use of experts to ensure that we can address the more complex audit engagements. On the supervision and review, including greater partner involvement, re-emphasizing that importance thereof, in working with audit teams and the planning, to be there during planning phase, to be there during execution phase, to ensure that there's a robust review process happening on the ground, the coaching is happening on the ground, to ensure quality reviews and real-time quality reviews of engagements. And then last but not least, to hold people accountable for their actions, including the impact on remunerations, on engagement partners and review partners for poor audit quality, often extending also to firm leadership to hold them accountable.
Okay. Now that we have fully implemented the standard, what do you think are some of the key elements for an effective monitoring process?
Not hammering on monitoring today, but really from our point of view, develop a comprehensive monitoring plan and stick to that plan. Because once you fall behind in your monitoring plan, it's hard to play catch up with that. As I've said before, it can't just be left to the very last to start off your monitoring process, because you won't finish in time, or you may identify a big deficiency whereby you identify, but actually my system of quality management is not operating effectively. But because it's right at the end, before evaluation and conclusion date, there's no time to remediate that deficiency, and thereby you won't be able, the person ultimately responsible for the system of quality management won't be able to sign off to say, yes, our system of quality management is operating effectively. I think also as part of the monitoring process, the firm should get an understanding as to why do things go wrong. What is, as I've mentioned before, what is the real root cause of things going wrong? As I said before, it's not always what you think at face value the issue is. It's sometimes a much deeper reason of why things go wrong, be it, workload of a partner, be it, the recruitment of the resources, be it that the team maybe is utilizing outdated intellectual resources. There are many, many reasons why things could go wrong, but sometimes it's not just what you think it is at surface level. It's a much deeper reason of why things can go wrong.
Okay. You mentioned as one of the best practices to lead by example. Do you see a change in the leadership style, the leadership responsibilities and accountability taken as a result of the implementation of the quality management standards?
Yes, I can definitely see a change. Our leadership is dedicated to continuously improvement through innovative methods, enhanced knowledge and deeper analysis of matters identified. They are much more focused on quality aspects, much more involved, much more, on the forefront of agendas. Quality will always be there. And this dedication allows us to stay aligned with evolving standards, changing regulations, and emerging markets, all while maintaining a steadfast drive towards audit quality in the face of volatility and change. Because as you know, things are changing at a rapid pace, and sometimes we struggle to keep up with all these changes.
I think we can say thank you to artificial intelligence for that one, hey?
Exactly.
Yeah. The objective of the QM standards is to enhance the robustness of the firm's system of quality management. Please share some of the practical experiences where you have noticed a change in the firm's system of quality management.
Thanks, Naledi. I think, as I've just mentioned, there's a far bigger focus on quality throughout the firm, throughout the ecosystem of the whole system of quality management. Some practical examples is that we have significantly enhanced our client and engagement acceptance and re-acceptance process. There's a far greater focus and awareness on relevant ethical requirements, obviously including the independence requirements. As I've said, leadership is far more focused on quality, messaging, and leading by example from the top. Other examples are we are reinforcing the importance of a two-way communication. I think that's, again, and I have said it before, it's one of the fundamental things is it can't just be from the firm leadership top down, instructing teams to do X, Y, and Z, but also from the engagement teams to feel the ability that they have the ability to speak up and say, but hang on, I'm identifying these issues or this, or I don't have enough resources on my engagements. Therefore, I foresee a quality risk that could emerge. So again, that effective two-way communication. Also, as I said, we are ensuring that our technological resources are fit for purpose. And also our intellectual resources are up to date. I think historically, maybe, policies were written and then placed somewhere or published somewhere, but then long forgotten. And, maybe if resources change or 10 years later, somebody looks at the policy and says, sure, that this is outdated. Mm-hmm. Whereas this effective system of quality management forces you to actually relook at your intellectual resources on an annual basis. Is it still fit for purpose? Have there been changes in the regulation that we need to update? Are teams maybe struggling in a certain area where we need to develop a template that they can utilize on engagements to ensure that, again, we've got the quality engagements? So I think the whole system of quality management and ISQM 1, what personally, my experience, it brings the proactiveness in ensuring that we address all these various components timely so that we can ensure that at all times we've got the quality engagements.
Wow. You mentioned that it also touches on your IT function, your human resource function. Just my last question, has ISQM created a culture shift within your firm, and has it enhanced audit quality?
Yes, I definitely believe that it has created a culture shift throughout the firm. As I've said, it focuses on being proactive as opposed to being reactive. Mm-hmm. It's not merely a compliance checklist. Yes, we've got all these wonderful policies in place and it doesn't mean anything to anybody. Whereas we can proactively identify, relook at our quality risks, are our responses fit for purpose to ensure that they can address the quality risks. In addition, the whole system of quality management, as I've said, it follows a risk-based approach. Mm-hmm. So again, the culture change, it's just, I can just see, just throughout the firm, it's just everybody is just thinking quality, which is wonderful to see. It's wonderful to know that everybody has the public interest at heart and ensuring that we can deliver quality work in all instances.
Thank you, Christel. I think it's just over 2 years since we implemented the QM standards. And what I can take from your conversation is that one needs to be proactive in the system of quality management. We also need to be up to date with what's happening around the world. I mean, we've got artificial intelligence that needs to be factored in our quality management systems. Thank you so much for sharing these insights. I definitely think that this will keep the momentum going in terms of sharing the insights on quality management.
Thank you, Naledi.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.